Wham! How you doing? My name's Mike. Welcome to the Sunday night chat. Excuse me. You know the joke already. You think it's mustache wax, but it's not. Hey, like this shirt. This is a shirt I bought at a thrift store probably 5 years ago. I've never worn it. It's from the 70s. Look at this collar, man. And it's inside out on purpose. Like the sharp part of the fabric, the color's on the inside. It's really bizarre. Kind of like me. Never wore it. Just been hanging in the closet. I'm wearing it for you. For you. Oh, shit. I didn't even prepare. I honestly haven't prepared. I did write some notes down this week, and they're over here, so excuse me. We'll cut through this right quick. And then, what else? I'll start off with, you guys know I like to buy these series, these DVD series, and I just binge watched Turn, Washington Spies. I was going to wear my tricorn hat for you guys today, but nah, still too warm in LA for that. Yeah, great series. This is based in truth. Washington had this spy ring that he was dealing with, amongst others, I suppose. It was the Culper gang or whatever they called it, and he kept all the letters. He should have gotten rid of them, but he didn't. So they were all in Washington's papers, and there was a guy that wrote a book on it, and he got all Washington's papers together and sifted through thousands and thousands and thousands of these documents and was able to put this whole thing together. And then they wrote wrote a book about it, and then it's a 3-season thing. I highly recommend it. Turn, check it out. It really is cool, and if you're into the history of the time period, it really does. It gives a lot of nuance to these characters. Who just all popped out of my brain. But I mean, it's what's really cool. What I like towards the end in the last season, they got into Benedict Arnold and what he was really going through financially and everything else with Congress. Don't go anywhere. Got to put my watch on. It is 20 after 2. I'm running 20 minutes late here. I like that. And Major Andre, I thought that was pretty. The whole thing is interesting. If you've seen it, there's this guy that plays this Captain Simcoe. What an evil character. You know, a lot of these shows, there's like some evil guy, and this guy just plays the villain. One of the best villains ever, I think. It's just, you just hate him. You want him to die in every friggin' episode. At any rate, check that out. And then there's this here. I just wanted to show this to you because we're getting these in the mail. I think this is the third one I've got now. This is paid for by Right Path California, which is going to be some left-wing group. The whole gerrymandering conversation here in California. It's so nuts what's going on here. It's so ridiculously crazy. Because now people know finally how corrupt Gavin Newsom is, and he's a liar. He's trying to be like Trump now. Just everything he tries fails. He tried to do a podcast, but he's not good at pretending to be a real human being. He's a freaking wacko. And now they're sending this, and it's a lot of money to mail this stuff out to people. That money could be going to help people out. And if you're not hip to the gerrymandering thing, I will just put it to you like this. A lot of us weren't, but a lot of us got woken up to it when Obama was president because it was in the news then. And it's something that when you look into it, you learn that the Democrats have been doing this for ever, like a generation, multiple decades, man. It's really crazy. And so the Republicans in these states, they just want to even it out. There are states that have a decent majority, not a majority, I'm sorry, but a decent percentage, 30% or more of Republican voters, and they've got like very little representation in Washington for the state, if any at all in some states. That's because of gerrymandering that the left has been doing. So it's crazy. Everything's so crazy, but it's awesome, and thank God for President Trump. That's all I got to say. So, and I bring that up because I was going to start with something else. I never know how this is going to start off, What is it here that I wanted to talk about? Okay, I saw this thing in the news, and the reason I say thank God for Trump is, well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. I like where we're at with the border. I like that there's no new wars. I like that he squashed a bunch of wars. I like that he's getting jobs going again. I like that he's getting companies coming back into this country. I like that he's monetized different systems that is bringing money into the country that nobody ever seemed to think about before. I like that he figured out NATO over there with this whole Ukraine thing. And so instead of us just giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, not knowing where the hell it goes, we're not doing that anymore, right? Now NATO's actually buying weapons from us and then giving them to them. It's like somebody with a brain finally got in here. Like, if you don't like them, it's fine, but pick a topic and let's talk it out. Because now I see common sense and business thinking. That's what I like. That's what people voted for. But there's this thing that's been going on, and it's happening in this country too. And it hasn't gotten as bad yet, but it would have been way worse had Trump not won this last election. And that's the idea of immigration without assimilation is an invasion. And so, because we have communities in this country that are, well, let's just talk about Islam, right? The Muslims, especially in Minnesota, there's whole communities. That's all it is. And then they vote their own people in, and then they don't want to live by American law. It's crazy. Look, I don't care if you're a Muslim. I don't care if you're a Hindu. I don't care if you're a Sikh. I don't care if you're Jewish or I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what country you came from. If you're coming here, you need to, and what you should be doing, what you should be wanting to do, is assimilate into this country. You should want to start adapting the American culture. You should want to work on your English. You should get good at that. You should become a naturalized citizen. You're going to learn more and know more about how our government works than kids that are born and raised here these days. That's what you should do. You're not supposed to come here and bring the bullshit that supposedly you're running away from here with you and try to turn this into a bullshit place like the place you just left. This is just common sense stuff I'm saying here. This is not controversial. If you come from some bullshit place where they oppress women, throw gays off roofs, you have no freedoms, all those things, and then you come here and then you put people in power, you elect people just like that here to make it like it was there, that supposedly you're running away from. I mean, do you understand what's happening here? It shouldn't be allowed to happen. It shouldn't be allowed to happen, period. And now we're seeing what's going on in Europe, and we've been seeing this for a while, but I keep looking at these things in London or Britain, and I don't know, there's something I don't know the numbers anymore. It was 40 or more mayors or whatever they call them over there that are Islamic now, and they've got Islamic law. They've got rape gangs running around. They're literally putting people in jail for talking against things that are happening there that are archaic and ridiculous, men forcing themselves on women and children. It's crazy. If you say something about it, well, now you're hurting their feelings and they can arrest you or cite you or whatever. Meanwhile, these guys are still doing it. It's insane. It's insane. And that has to stop. And in Canada even, a Toronto police chief, I just watched it with my own eyeballs. He's talking about home invasions. And he's telling people, leave your key fob and your keys for your car by your front door. Because he says when people break into your house, it'll just be easier for them. They won't have to come into your house and beat you and do other things. Because all they want to do is take your car. So that's how it is now. That's how it is. There are people in this world, in this country, that country, first world countries, where we're supposed to give people the things that we've worked hard for our whole lives because the color of that person's skin, where they came from, we're supposed to feel like that they've been oppressed. So if they're allowed to steal. That's what happened in California. You can steal over $900 worth of stuff, and it's a misdemeanor. I posted something yesterday that happened, I believe it was up here on Hollywood Boulevard, where there's this crazy friggin' guy. I don't know if he's on crack or what. He's a bum. He's a friggin' criminal, disgusting bum. It happened to be a black guy. Not that that matters. I'm not, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of white guys on there too. But in this video, happened to be this black guy being violent with these guys who were shooting something with a camera, and he broke their camera, smacked them around. Cops show up, and the cops saying we can't do anything about it. If you want to press charges, and if you're willing to go to court, then you can press the charges. If you're not, then it's a misdemeanor. Nothing's going to happen to him. And it was just, and another guy walks over. He starts attacking the cop. He's like, well, what? We have no recourse now. Like, you guys are impotent. Like, being a cop in LA now is a joke. It's a fucking joke, man. They are not allowed to do their job. They cannot enforce the law. They can't bust people. There's no point in arresting anybody anymore because they're just going to let them out anyhow. This is the world. This is what's happened in the last 4 years. It's crazy. And so that's the reason why Trump is doing the things he's doing. And it's what's wild is like he's cleaned up the crime in D.C. by putting the National Guard on the streets. So I encourage that in every major city where there's rampant crime. Because the people that are running these cities, it's the blue cities, man. It's the blue cities. You can have a red state with a blue city, just so you know. Because there's been talk lately. I saw this thing with Gavin Newsom. He was talking about how like one of the cities in Louisiana or something is like this guy has the #1 homicide rate. Like he's trying to point to a red state for that. And I started looking up these numbers, and here's where I learned, and I've given you guys examples of this before. AI is now lying to you because it's not AI. It's not AI. It's some liberal douchebag putting the information into AI. Because I looked it up, and first I was looking up cities, and it's because Chicago's still the #1 city. But their AI is telling you no. It lists. It says, well, some of the highest are boom, 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 and then Chicago comes down here. But when you look at the numbers, Chicago's still #1. So then I said counties. I looked up counties. I said, what's the highest homicide rate by county in the country? And the Meta AI thing pops up, and it's like the first 2 paragraphs are some of the highest rates are in the Southeast, Louisiana, places like this. I get to the 3rd paragraph, says the #1 county highest homicide rate is Cook County, right? Which is the county Chicago's in, which is in the state of Illinois. You have to go down 3 paragraphs to get the truth. What the fuck? What the fuck? I have a neighbor, really nice girl. We're going to hang out later, I think. She's 24 years old. Just a nice girl. I know her, I met her mom when they were moving in. And she was pointing out yesterday, I was like, we're just talking about the difference with the generations. Me being a Gen X guy and all that, and her mom as well. And how she just admitted it. She's like, I don't have to know anything because I can just Google it. I asked her, can you change a tire? How do you feel? I was asking her about men in her age range because she had a bad thing with some guy she was going out with that was totally insensitive to her at one point when she was ill. And once she realized that he didn't really care about her at all, she broke it off with him. So that got this whole conversation about men and men's men and everything else. And, she's kind of she's cool, brain works for the most part. She's only 24, but she's not into the man's man thing like the Gen Xers were. And I'm trying to explain to her, I'm like, yeah, but at some point you're going to want that dude. And she was saying all these things to talk around that point because you can't get a young person to understand reality until they live long enough, have enough life experience to understand what you're saying is true. Because right now, everything they think that they're right about everything. And so there's no point in beating your head against the wall trying to get them to accept it. You just plant the seeds and you hope that one day when the truth hits them in the face, they see your face in their head. Remember, oh yeah, that guy tried to tell me that. At any rate, I had to make that note about that Toronto cop because that was nuts. And wait a second. I got a note telling me to go over here. Immigration. I guess that's about it. But and I also wanted to talk about this thing that they did in Washington with Pete Hegseth, where is it that they're calling the Department of Defense now the Department of War? Or yeah, because they wouldn't change the Pentagon to the Department of War. It's just the way it was written was throwing me off. It should be the Department of War. Department of Defense makes you sound like a pussy. We're on defense. We're just defensive, that's it. When clearly, we haven't been defensive, ever. We've been on the offense all over the world, and not always right. Hasn't always been the right thing to do. I freely admit that. I think that we've embedded ourselves in places of the world because of special interest groups that we should have never done. And I think that wars have happened and people have died to make certain people and companies rich. I don't think you can talk around that reality. That's the truth. I don't want us getting involved in a lot of other countries' bullshit. It's a new day with a new president who's not letting himself get talked into that. So, like, unlike the last one, and then the one before Trump's first term, and all the others that came before that, because he doesn't owe anything to anybody. What he's doing is peace through commerce, where he's working out these deals. So, yeah, some of our companies are going to make money, but so are the countries that we're dealing with. In the past, it was just about a lot of our companies caring about themselves, and that was it. So that's not, hopefully, we'll squash that all together with all these changes that they're making. But, yes, Department of War. I think originally that was what it was called, if I'm not mistaken. You know, Department of Defense never made any sense to me. The whole country's based on war. Our national anthem is about a fucking battle, man. I mean, again, I just watch this. And if you haven't seen the Sons of Liberty, get that one too. Sons of Liberty is pretty good, but you know, they fictionalize so much. They do kind of ruin it a bit for people that know history. Like in the Sons of Liberty, John Adams is like 20 years old. In reality, he was like in his 40s. So that's a little bit of a thing for me. But what happened is true. You know, these guys getting together, and they were rebels, man. They were rebels. No representation, no taxation without representation, all these things. The king is a fucking wacko. What I liked about Turn is that they reveal, they turn King George into a lunatic kind of, like he's a crazy person. And they also point out, which is not something that I remember learning in school as a kid, that England was going bankrupt. You know, their expansionism was bankrupting them. They couldn't keep fighting us. And of course, France came in to help us out and all that. But if it wasn't for people standing up, like maybe 3% of the population at the time, and fighting, we wouldn't have what we have today. A place where people all over the planet want to come to, right? Meanwhile, there's people in our own government that are allowing some people to come here to turn into a shithole like the places that they're running away from, and people still want to come here. So it's the whole thing is crazy. This whole thing makes it's why I don't like to watch this stuff and pay attention to it anymore, because this is like the last chapter of my life here. I just want to focus on happy things. But yeah, Department of War, exactly how it should be. Exactly how it should be. So our military should be focused on nothing but war fighting. Period. That's it. That's the job. Focus on being the most lethal fighting force on the planet. This way nobody screws with you. It's very simple. It's very simple. So I'm happy about that little piece of news. All right. I'm talking too fast. I thought by now we'd be halfway through this. What else did I write down here? I wanted to talk about this thing. I mentioned with her with the whole Gen X thing. So I don't want to talk too much about this, but it's just a funny thing. I've been talking to this woman. She's probably watching right now. Hello. And what's cool is we're getting to know each other on the phone, and it just reminds me of when I was like 9, and there'd be a girl in school, and you exchange phone numbers, you'd be talking on the phone, you know. But the difference is back then you're just kids, but now you're adults, so you can have adult conversation on the phone. It's just funny when you're dating somebody who's like close to your age, and you know they can't be as honest as they want to be or open as they wanted to be until the kid gets out of the house. The walls are paper thin. I want to say certain things to you, but I gotta wait. That's just funny to me. And it turns out, very pretty girl, and I didn't think she was her age. I thought she was much younger, and I was apprehensive about contacting her and talking to her. But it turns out she's a Gen X person as well, just like me. Which the cool thing about that is, as we both know, it's just be yourself from the jump. Say whatever's on your mind, throw it out there. You got nothing to lose that way, you know? So it's cool. And she has a good sense of humor because she grew up with the movie Porky's just like I did. Right? I mean, we grew up with crude humor. That's how it was. So now that doesn't mean every Gen X woman is that open and fun and funny. There's a lot of uptight bitches out there. All right, you know who you actually you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are until you lose your shit. You start yelling, screaming at somebody, and then you start taking on your husband, everybody else around you later, and maybe after that you might question yourself, why am I doing this? Most of you don't. Most of you don't. There's a lot of freaking Karens out there, a lot of Gen X Karens. You know who you are. If you don't know who you are, look at yourself in the mirror. Do you have a nose ring? Is your hair blue? Do you have that bob haircut? Maybe a two-tone bob haircut? With bob glasses, let's just call that, those thick frame glasses, a bob haircut, two-tone thing, some sort of nose piercing, and a fucking bitch look on your face everywhere you go. And can you not witness something and not say something about it? Is that you? Because then you're a Karen. That's what a Karen is. Look at your. You don't even know you did it yourself. Look in the mirror. If you've got the Karen uniform going, you're a friggin' Karen. By the way, if you have that Karen uniform and you're not a Karen, go see a hairdresser, right? Change that shit up a bit. If you're walking around looking like a pissed off lesbian and you're not one, then, change that shit up because you're throwing people off there. You're throwing me off. If you're cool and you look like that, change that shit, please. Anyhow, back to talking to somebody like that. Because the thing is, I'm kind of crude. I'm crude because it's funny to me to be that way at times. That doesn't mean I'm like that all the time. But when I'm getting to know somebody, I'm going to throw things out there once in a while because I'm testing your sense of humor. For instance, if I say, man, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and maybe I haven't talked to you in a few days, and I say, man, since the last time I talked to you, I've been beating my dick like it owes me money. That's a compliment. That's meant as a compliment. You should get that. You should laugh because it's funny, and you should go, oh, he really likes me. I don't know another way to put that, okay? If you tell a joke, it's a little crude, boom. Okay, the guy's comfortable enough with me to be crude. I clearly turn him on, and he's willing, and he makes me laugh. Ding, 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 winner. Okay? Winner. That's how my brain works. If I've offended you ladies, then you know what? You are not for me. Anyhow, it's just a fun thing that's happening, and I wrote it down, and I thought it was funny. What else did I write down in here? I don't even know. You know what? The Gen X thing is a thing. I have to do. There's plenty on this, okay? There's AI videos now on being Gen X and like the most Gen X man in the world. And it's funny. It's funny to think about that. And I want to talk more. I think that, because you guys know I want to be doing some bits here and the whole stand-up thing. I think the whole Gen X thing is something you could talk for hours on that. And the beauty is that you could probably get online and just start going Gen X things to remind you of this stuff without even having done that. If I'm just thinking about it, just the clothes, the cars. I mean, when I was a kid, we had all this freedom. It's interesting. I'm thinking about Gen Xers now because on one hand, I suppose you could goof on us and you could say, hey man, the reason the world is fucked up is your fault. Gen Xers, the kids of Gen Xers, they're the ones that are fucking shit up for. You can make that point. A lot of Gen Xers had kids and they started the whole play date thing and everything else. It's like they were, I think the reason for that is that we had so much freedom that we saw terrible things when we were young that we didn't want our kids to have to experience. Saw or experienced ourselves or lived through or watched our friends do it, like teenage pregnancy, the drugs, the alcohol, some of our friends dying in car wrecks, that sort of thing. So you wanted to protect your own kids from that. I get that. But you went too far, some of you. Some of you went too fucking far with this shit, okay? And you turned your kids into these woke morons, and now we have to live with this bullshit. Your kids are a bunch of assholes, some of you, and we got to live with this shit. So those of you who didn't do that, those of you who raised your kids to have balls, be independent, stand up for themselves, and think for themselves, thank you for that. And the rest of you, fuck you, because we're dealing with your kids and they're a bunch of fucking assholes. And it wasn't Gen X running things, I don't think. I think it was still the boomers running things. Now the boomers are these really old people. The people that are 50 to 60 years old now are the Gen Xers. And a lot of them they went out into the world and they had a bunch of fun and they made money and they had families and everything else. And now, later in life, some of them are wanting to give back. And they are getting involved in local politics and things like that. And because they came from this tough upbringing, hopefully they'll be more common sense oriented. So it's an interesting time to see how this is all shaken out. It's kind of cool. And the one cool thing about Gen Xers is no bullshit. Like, even if you are a bullshit person and you're a Gen Xer, and you come up against another Gen Xer and you're trying to pull bullshit on this guy ain't going to take your shit. He's ain't going to take your shit. And that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing in politics now. It's why you're seeing people curse more often and all that. It's like, hey, stop with your bullshit, man. Boom. And they're hitting them with reality over and over and over again. Did you see the RFK hearings? Did you watch any of that? I just guessed that the left doesn't pay attention. Like, they don't want to put the time in to watch 2 to 3 hours of hearings. They're gonna turn on MSNBC or CNN, PBS, NPR. It's the same old people who continually have lied to them. So they're all still believing a bunch of lies, even though all the truth's come out now. Everything on COVID and vaccines and everything else, we know what the reality is. They still don't want to believe it. Fine. They still believe everything that was in the Russia hoax and the dossier and all that stuff that was all proven to be a lie. All of it's a lie. They still believe that shit. And they're still going to the same sources for bullshit. And those sources are going to show little clips where there's zingers, where, like, Pocahontas gives a zinger to RFK, and she says what she says, and then that's the end of it. They're not showing his rebuttal where he points out that she took, $850 million or something from pharmaceutical companies. But he was just knocking them down, man. And they just the guy from New Mexico, there was this guy from New Mexico who really blew my mind because he didn't know what he was talking about. And RFK told him, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, see, you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, he tried to spin it like he was the brainiac. He sounded like it was literally like talking to a smart ass 9 to 11-year-old kid who thinks that they're right, and they're just like, and you're just looking at this like, you're a fucking moron. Are you my kid? Are you my kid? Are you from my loin? I'm just suddenly having a flashback to the sheriff from Smokey and the Bandit. You're not part of my loins. Like, I'm embarrassed by this shit. I'm gonna go home and smack your mother. That's what this guy reminds me of. Look that up. The New Mexico guy questioning RFK. What a fucking joker, man. What an ass clown. I love that it's happening the way it's. You know what I really like? I like these meetings that they're having now. The every month. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for this. I should. It's a stream of consciousness here. The cabinet meetings that Trump's having publicly, with the press in the room and everything. No one's ever done that before. How many of these meetings did Biden even have? Trump's having one every single month with the anybody who says that Trump is like hiding anything is lying to you. It's the most transparent administration ever. Everything's out there. Probably not the best in some cases, but I think it's cool that he's doing it. That's all I'm saying. So for me, this whole thing has been pretty fun, but I'm really not watching a lot of it. I didn't watch any of it this week. It was kind of warm here this week, and I need to do some work. I'm doing a couple things for myself here with the bands, with the watch stuff, and I got to get these final, just to let you know what's going on here. You guys know I went to Jersey for my high school reunion, which was awesome. Before I did that, I was out in Lake Arrowhead, gutting this bathroom. So I did some drawings for them with some designs, and I spoke with them the other night, and they made a couple changes, and I totally understand what they want to do. And now that I know what they want to do, I just got to give them a couple rough sketches of that so we're on the same page. And then I have to work, make sure that they're cool with that, and then work up a materials list, which I'll do in the next couple days to get numbers so I can give them a price. And hopefully midweek or something, we can agree on it, and I can get some coin going, and then get that project started, because I got to start making some money. If for no other reason, I was looking at a couple watches on eBay. which is I shouldn't be doing that. I have no business. I do not need any more watches. I need to sell watches is what I need to do. I don't need any more watches. It's just I look and I'm like, that's a really good deal. Oh my God, that's such a cool thing. It's a freaking disease, man. I got on eBay last week and I don't, you know what it was? I've got my belt. Don't go anywhere. So, a lot of my styling, like stuff I dig and what I'm kind of bringing back are the things that I saw when I was a kid in the 70s, right? Like this shirt, for instance. Like these leather watch bands. Like the cuffs I make, the leather watch cuffs. Those things were tough, man, in the late 70s or late 60s and all through the 70s. Even in the 80s, man, we had that people were wearing those things. And one of the cool things to wear was like the brass belt buckle, right? Now this is a very cool, very rare belt buckle. And it's basic tool something. It's BTS. It's a solid brass. If it doesn't say solid brass on the belt buckle, then it likely isn't. There's a lot of buckles out there that are brass plated. You got to really look at the high spots and look for gray areas. Then you know it's like a pot metal thing that's been brass plated. Don't buy those. They don't hold up. And if you ever wanted to sell them again, they're not worth anything. There's a thing about quality items out there. This buckle right now, there is one on eBay, which I would buy just to have a second one. It's so rare. And they're asking like $190 for it or something. And I picked this up at a swap meet for $27. Yeah. Over 20 years ago. There's pictures of me wearing this around 2000. So it's cool. This popped up like as a suggestion or something on eBay, like below when you're scrolling around, and I was like, wow, they want a lot of money for this buckle now. And then I looked at the back. I was like, I'm going to look up BTS buckles. I shouldn't be telling you this because now we're going to be competing for this shit. And I found a bunch of belt buckles. I bought a couple of them because they were like a really good deal. So I think it's one of those collector genres, for lack of a better term, that you could still get into pretty cheap and have something that's going to be worth money down the road. There's a lot of different companies that make solid brass belt buckles back then, and the best ones, they'll say, like, they're usually dated in 1970s. I think this is 1978. Anyhow, that's another thing I shouldn't be doing because, I got bills to pay, but I have a disease. This is a disease where you buy things for yourself. Maybe there's a thing if you live alone and you don't have anybody else doing nice things for you. You just want a package to come in the mail once in a while because it's like a Christmas thing, like from when you were a kid. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a psychological dopamine thing that happens when you get a box in the mail. I know that Robin and Patrick, every time they send me something, it is like that. It's like, ooh, wow, this is awesome. More cigars? That would be great. Thank you for everybody that sends me stuff. Anyhow, this has been the latest thing with me is belt buckles again. It's stupid. I just can't help myself. I'm just a kid. I'm a boy. Which brings me to something else that happened yesterday. I went to Trader Joe's yesterday morning, and there's two employees, these two girls, and they're complaining about men. And I overheard part of the conversation, and because they were referring to like boys. I want a boy, and I'm like, well, I don't remember exactly what they said, but I interjected. I was like, that's not what you want. You do want a guy that's still boyish. And they're like, well, I don't know about that. I was like, trust me on this, because you get the guy you think is the acting all grown up, and he does well. He's a good provider and everything else. But if that guy's boring, you're gonna get bored. And you're going to wish you had a guy that was more fun. And you're going to start getting upset, taking him for granted and everything else. And then you're going to end up cheating on him with some guy like me. Ask me how I know. So I'm just saying. Like, I straightened them right out on that. It was just so funny. But I made a point and they kind of listened. And hopefully it got through to them. It was just a funny moment for me. Anyhow, it's going to be a short one this week. I don't think I have much else to say to you guys. I got to get back to work. I got to get some coin coming in. I will mention this. I did the video on the VA a couple days ago. I want to point this out to you guys. This collar thing is a problem for me. I didn't in that video I didn't make it clear. There will be a video where I explain everything once everything's said and done. What I mean by that is this. I am not talking about the VA as far as like going to the VA for surgery or seeing a doctor for normal stuff. I'm going to the VA right now because I have disability claims. That's what it's about. I didn't put that in the title. And it's not a made-up thing. It's all legit. And I have all these injuries that happened to me when I was in the service that I still suffer from and create a lot of problems for me, and on top of these other things that happen. And I just wanted to make that point. It's a separate thing. If because the way I got out, I was told I couldn't get any benefits. I was totally lied to, and there was a bunch of you guys here, veterans I know, that I knew 10 years ago or more, who were telling me this at the time, and I didn't believe them because of what I was told at that time. And now that I've been going through this whole process and looking at my records and reliving this in my brain for the last year and a half, which has not been good for me. It's been a very slow year and a half for me. It's not because I haven't had enough work. It's because I haven't been doing the work because I've been in my head too much. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy thing. I don't like being here mentally. It has not been a good. That's why I can't get anything else done. I have to relive the shit because I have to fill this form out or talk to this guy or whatever. I want it over with. So right now now that I understand the way that this works better. People here before said that you don't need an advocate. You can do it on your own. Yeah, if you already know how it works, you can kind of do it on your own. But if you hire a company, one of these companies that does it for you, it's kind of better. If you find a guy like I found, it's better. Because they're going to find things that you're not going to see. And they also understand the way that it works better. They know how to word things better. When the VA denies you for something, they know how to go back at them and word things correctly so that the people at the VA, the next person that it gets bumped up to sees, oh yeah, okay, yeah, they got a point. All that stuff, you don't know that. You don't know how that stuff goes. So that's the reason I'm going about it the way that I am. And I'm excited for it because it's all happening. And I've been given 2 ratings. I got bumped up again recently for another thing. And again, this next appointment I got to go for in a couple of weeks or a week and a half, whatever it is. They got to see me for the next few things, and I'm sure that I'll get something out of that. And then the next thing with that whole Nexus letter issue, that'll get taken care of. And before you know it, this will be behind me, and I can move on and not have to think about it anymore. And but once I get this last appointment for the physical stuff where I got damaged, I'm waiting on that until I actually go to the VA for appointments. Some of you would tell me I should go anyhow, but I do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the VA. I'm going to get a doctor, and I'm going to get my blood work done. I can do all that right now. And something else I didn't know. Once you get any rating, if you got a 10% rating, which I had already, I think I'm at 20% right now, but once you get that, you can go to the doctor already. And what's interesting is, and I've learned this by talking to other guys, like I've got friends of mine who went to the VA at one point, and the VA told them that they have to pay for services because were making too much money. But if you're like me, where you don't make money, you don't really make money, it's because it's based on that. It turns out that you can actually get things paid for. So it's an interesting situation. Funny story. There's a guy he's one of the 3. I got 3 friends to go into the Marines after I had already enlisted, and so I did the delayed entry program. They call you a poolee because you're in the pool of guys that are going to go to boot camp on a certain date. And I was the top guy. Every month, for a couple months in a row, I got guys to go in. And one of them, my buddy Bob, I ran into him when I was home at the reunion. A lot of us, now I said to him, I said, dude, if you go to the VA, the tinnitus thing, there's all these things. And he goes, yeah, I don't have anything wrong with me. And he worked on helicopters. And he's laughing. He goes, I know, I just did what they told me because they gave those guys those really good, that really good hearing protection. So he doesn't have ringing in his ears, man. It's so crazy. My ears are ringing right now. It's annoying. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. I have to use the sound machine and everything, and still, It's insane. So it was just, it really is fun. He was so lucky. A lot of you guys are lucky. You went through all of that and didn't have any injuries or anything. Got out of it and you're totally fine. And that might be the majority. That might be the majority. For me, it seems off because so many people here talk about it with me and they send me comments and they got beat up and had similar situations that I had and all that. There's a meme that shows Marines standing there with all this gear on, the whole pack, the body armor, the helmet, the full canteens, the weapons, the ammo. I mean, you got like 120 pounds of gear on you. And it's like, and then it says something like, and the VA refuses to admit, you know, that it's service related. VA says my back injuries are not service related, and then there's a picture of you wearing 120 pounds of gear. It's like, what the hell are they? Especially in the old days, where shit was even heavier, and you were wearing those black combat boots with those solid hard rubber soles. Are you kidding me? Every time I meet a guy that tells me that he was in what I was in that didn't get any damage, I'm like, man, you good for you, dude. That's awesome because your body is perfect. The rest of us, were we just frail or something? Just bad luck? Crazy. It's really, really wild. Anyhow, I'm dealing with that. We're going to get that done and move on from there. I don't know. Let's keep this one short today. I normally want to like keep talking for like an hour, but okay, I'll tell you what. Let's try to give you another 15 minutes or so. Let me just see if there's anything else in my little notebook here. I wrote a bunch of notes about Gen X stuff, like stuff. Oh yeah, that's true too. You know, I was born in '66. Gen X is 65. I think it's 65 to 85. Is that right? 20 years? Is that right? Or 66 to 80 or something? So that would mean like basically 60 years old down to like 45-ish or something. I don't know. Being born in 66, I do have some boomer tendencies, man. I do have that. You know, I call it the YouTube, you know, or the Facebook. And I'm a little more archaic. I was a little too old for some of the stuff of the toys that kids play. Like I was still playing with G.I. Joe stuff that was more of a boomer toy. The 12-inch G.I. Joes and all that, you know. And by the time they got to the tiny action figures, I wasn't playing with that shit anymore. Come on. That was kid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like 77, Star Wars came out, and that was a great movie. And I had a couple of those figures, but I didn't play with them. I was already too old for that. By 77, you know, because I was 11 years old already. I'm kissing girls at 11 years old, you know. It was, you know, summer camp, Kim Cherico. Never forget it. it was you would go away for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks for summer, and there was this fat kid at camp that knew everything, you know. He was like, you know, when you're kids, it's funny, Gen Xers. You tell me if you have this same memory. We were kids out on the street at night, all night. You know, you came home when the street lights came on. But in the summertime, a lot of times you could still go out later, depending on the neighborhoods you were in, I suppose. And we were living like adults at that time. And there were personalities there that would fit right in. Like, you remember Little Rascals when they were acting like adults? That's how it seemed to me. And this guy was like this. He was this fat guy. But I could imagine him being like 40 years old with a cigar, talking the way that he talked. But he was my age. Very street smart guy. And because I just remember him coming up to me towards the end of camp, and he's like, "Yeah, there's only you only got a couple days left to fuck her." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I didn't even know that, like what that term was. I knew the word was it was a bad word, it was a dirty word. People used it to express themselves. Like he had explained to me what that was. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, you know, I came home from summer camp and I knew shit. I knew stuff. I was the guy on the street, and some kid would use some term like, "You don't even know what that means." I had to school all the other kids on the street. You learn things in summer camp. But there was a Sadie Hawkins dance thing where that's where the girl picks the guy. And I didn't even really know this chick, but another guy I was friends with at the time, this happened to me multiple times. I kind of feel a little guilty about it. But he liked this girl. He pointed her out to me. He introduced me to her. And she was cute. And when the Sadie Hawkins things went down, he was all, actually, he's like, man, she's going to get me and we're going to go make out and do all this stuff we've been talking about. I'm like, I was good for you, dude. That's awesome for you. And the way they did it on imagine this. This is like 77, 78, something, somewhere's in there. I think it was 77. And they made it so like, it was like a game. This is so crazy. Think about this. Camp counselors, what are they, like late 19 to their 20s or something? They did this thing with us. We're kids, man. We're children. We are. If you think of it, by today's standards, would they be thinking of us as babies? But 11-year-olds back then were smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, drinking beer. All that shit was happening, man. No joke. Gen Xers, you know what I'm talking about. And so they have all the guys line up, and they blow a whistle, and all the guys disperse. It's all woods. It's all surrounded by woods and swampy shit and brooks and a lake and all this crazy shit in Jersey. And they all run out and hide. And then they blow a whistle, and all the girls run out and chase the boys down. It was glorious. Glorious is what it was. It was fucking genius. It was glorious. We should do this for adults today. They're talking about there's summer camps now for adults, but it ain't like this, guaranteed. Because there's a bunch of chicks with bob haircuts and bob glasses and something pierced in their nose, blue fucking hair, with bad fucking attitudes, Karens. Guaranteed there's a bunch of fucking Karens at summer camp for adults now who are ruining this shit. Guaranteed they're ruining it. But back then, in 1977, it was awesome. Well, this dude was very unhappy because the girl he liked chased me down. And it was nuts, man. I didn't know what to do. What was I supposed to do? I went along with it, is what I did. And leading up to this, all week long, we're dancing. There's this dance hall, and they're teaching us how to dance, and it was the hustle. We were learning the hustle, man. We were dancing the disco. Disco sucks. We know this. Disco's fun now. At the time, you had to be a rocker, because disco guys were a little gay. They wanted to wear the shiny shirts and the gold chain with the horn and everything else. I wasn't that guy. But disco music's fun. And so we go to the dance, and we dance a little bit. And then she says, let's go out back. And I'll never forget it. We go out back. We walk around the building, and it's blackout. But there's some lights. And it's a harsh, like, spotlight out there. And so there's, like, these hard shadows from trees. And there's kids behind these trees. And they're all making out, getting their fingers wet, whatever it is. And she takes me behind this tree to kiss me. And it was the first time a girl ever put her tongue in my mouth. Wow. 11 years old, French kissing for the first time. Kim Jericho. Thank you, Kim. Wherever you are. That was good stuff, man. Those are good memories. I haven't thought of that one in a while. So you got that out of me. Those were fun times, man. I mean, after that, you're on now. Now you're like, okay, what's the next thing? Because, at that, you're getting boners in school. You don't know what to do about it. Remember those desks? As a guy, you're sitting there and you're pushing your boner up against the bottom of the desk and you're just praying. There were times you get called up and you're like, I'm not going up. He's like, I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. Can I go to the bathroom? You kind of crunch over and run out of the room because you're embarrassed because you got an erection in the middle of class. Did that not happen to you? It happened to me. I still get boners all the time for no friggin' reason. I don't know what's going on. I was telling this girl on the phone the other night, 2 o'clock in the morning, I had to take a leak. This is TMI for you guys. I have to take a leak, and I just fucking raging friggin' hard on. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I can't piss with this thing. I had to wait like 25 minutes for my dick to go down so I could take a leak. This shit still happens to me. It's in the blood. I'm Greek. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then like going to high school, like 9th, 10th grade or so, like the bus ride, every bump. Every morning when I got off the bus, walk into school, I had my book bag in front of my crotch because every single morning I had an erection on the bus to school. Oh man, yeah. I can't hit hard bumps now. I get an erection when we have an earthquake. I'm still a horny bastard, man. Now I'm an old, dirty, old horny bastard. I was always scared to become that guy, and that's exactly who I am. But I always was that guy. Just like I said, the guy who seemed like he was 40 when he was 11 because of his personality, the horny little bastard I was then, I'm still the same guy now. You don't change, man. You don't really change. Oh, man. I'll tell you first. I'll give you another one since we're talking about it. Since I'm talking about it. You didn't ask for this shit. I think I was 14 or so the first time I did it. And it was at Foxwood Campgrounds up there in Pennsylvania, just over the Delaware River there. And they had like RVs and things parked there. My dad had bought this RV, and I was living in it that part of that summer. And that was the summer my uncle got me high. It was the first time I ever smoked weed. The nice family I got. Great family. Great family values. My uncle puts me on the back of his motorcycle, takes me out in the woods, lights up a joint and hands it to me. You know, I'm 14 years old. What do? You smoke the joint, you know. And my uncle I thought was cool. This was the guy that, good looking dude, pretty jack guy, he'd been a fireman. When I was 10 or 11, I've told you guys this before, he had been a Golden Gloves boxer, he was a wrestler and all. He was, good shape athlete guy. When I was 10 or 11, he started coming over the house, putting the gloves on me and just whoop bam, and he taught me how to box. But he beat the shit out of me, man. I mean, he didn't hit me hard enough to kill me, which he could have done easily, but he hit me hard enough to bust my nose and get blood coming out of it, and then he kept hitting me. And he taught me a lot of lessons. You know, if you're shorter than the guy, you got to get in closer because your maximum effective range is here. His maximum effective range is here. So if you come in closer, he can't hurt you as bad. Everything, fading, head movement, everything there is to know. Twisting at the hips, the power comes from your legs. Hitting the body. You know, there is a fun story which I was going to tell, but I'll save it for later. At any rate, he gets me high and he starts talking about the universe and reincarnation and all this other crazy shit. And there was a bunch of other kids there. And of course my dad wasn't around much, so I was there by myself most of the time. And it was like being at the Jersey Shore or something, because some of these families, they would just come up on the weekends. And then some of these things would get rented by a family for just a weekend. So there'd be like different girls up there all the time. And there was this girl. And, oh, wait a second. I'm remembering now. I'm getting them jumped up. This is a long friggin' time ago. The first couple times I did it, I wore a condom because that's what we're supposed to do. You know, that's what we're taught to do. You know, everybody's got a rubber in their wallet and you want to use it. 14, I used it. And the first couple times I had sex, I didn't have an orgasm, so I didn't know what the big deal was about having sex. But there was this one girl one night. We had these two hills. One was called Humper's Hill and the other one was called Porker's Point. That's what the kids called them. And I was with this girl, man, and it was the first time I had sex without a rubber. And it didn't last long, and I remember seeing waves crashing in my brain. It was crazy. It was crazy. But great. I mean, I don't think about this stuff very often. It's kind of fun. Now, look. Some of you, your first time is not your best memory. Maybe it didn't go right. Maybe it was your dad. I hope not. That would be terrible. You know, I'm just saying, if your first time early on wasn't a good one, I apologize for bringing up those memories. But for most of us, our first times are at least memorable, even if they're not the best time to remember. At least it's memorable. For me, it was kind of fun and memorable. Those days. Just the freedom that we had at that time and the things that we were doing. But again, I understand, you know, it was kind of dangerous and things went wrong and, you know, some people didn't make it. Some people didn't make it out of their teens. That's just life. So I can understand why some Gen Xers raise their kids to be pussies. I get it. But I'm still pissed off that I got to deal with your pussy asshole kid. And, you know, there's a few people I know from back in the day who have assholes as kids, and I've had to tell them, you're a fucking asshole because you raised an asshole. But for the most part, most of my friends, raised good kids. And they're respectful, and I have a good time with them. And so thank you for those of you that raise good kids. And for the rest of you who are going to raise good kids, thank you. For those of you who are thinking about raising kids, please raise a good kid that's going to learn to think for himself or herself and not just accept a bunch of bullshit. And I'll leave you with that. You guys have a great day. Thanks for being here. Ugh, sounds like another one all over the place. I do appreciate it. Be good to one another and, make somebody feel good. I'll catch you all in the next one.